What's up, guys? Evan Jarvis here. In today's video, you're going to learn why trying to be balanced makes it easy for opponents to outplay you, why keeping your range uncapped is more valuable than being balanced, what people do when under stress at the poker table and how to exploit it, and why people are afraid to do what will make them the most money in the long run. It may include yourself, and you might be surprised. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, so if you haven't yet watched parts 1 and 2, I invite you to do so. I've placed a link in the video description to both those videos so you can watch them, get caught up to speed, and put yourself in a position to get the most from this lesson. When you've done that and you're ready for some action, then let this keep playing, because we getting stacking.
Let's do another one. You raise pre-flop and get called. You get this flop and he checks to you. Your move. All right, time is up. If you said check here, that's wrong in my mind. Yes, GTO-wise, you should check here. Oh, I honestly don't know the numbers 60% of the time, especially with the 10 of diamonds. It makes sense because you have a backdoor flush draw. It does help you control pot size a bit versus specific opponents. But it also tells your opponents that you have a pair. And your opponents will play much better if they know what you have. Because people do not give up when the big blind calls and just checks. Right? Most guys with Jack Nine of Hearts there will take a shot. So if you check there, you have a pair most of the times. And he's going to know that. I also think what's going to happen most of the time here when you check is your opponent is going to lead the turn. You'll have no idea what frequency he does that with because it's all over the map. You'll call and you'll have no plan for the river, right? Look, you have to check here when you play 5-10 at the Bellagio. You have to check here in WPT Prague. But dealing with North American players in general, or dealing with lower stakes games, or even mid-stakes tournaments, your opponents are going to be massively exploitable. I just don't believe in that either, guys, to be truthful with you. Look, the great part about... I don't believe in the GTO stuff as much, is what I meant to say there. Look, the great part about my job is that I don't get to BS myself or others. If I have a bad poker strategy, it's going to die when 100 of my students use it and they all have negative reviews. My material either works or it doesn't. I don't get to teach GTO because my students would fire me if I did, because often it doesn't work. Has GTO done anything for your poker game? People have been talking about it for years. If it was going to help you, wouldn't it have happened by now? Riards Dobelis, a professional player from Latvia I work with, had this to say. This graph, the one you're looking at right here, guys, is the period, he said, this is the graph from the period where I decided to implement GTO concepts into my game. I was using some exploitative stuff, but was mostly focusing on using GTO lines so that I could be balanced versus the field I was playing. Worst idea ever. This was the worst year of my career. This is the graph since I stopped using GTO concepts altogether and went on to play hard exploitative play. One thing I sure realized that balance doesn't matter. Even the players who are trying to play optimally balanced style have enormous leaks in their games waiting to be exploited. You can kind of hear the Latvian English, by the way. Another great thing about poker is that you play versus humans, and I think it's very well established fact that humans are prone to making illogical decisions in stressful scenarios. That is the time when exploitative style prevails. So, okay. I'm so used to how Rihards talks because we talk a lot. I didn't realize that was in Latvian English. But what he's saying is a really good point, is that when people are stressed out, they don't go to GTO concepts. They kind of have their default way of playing. And if you know what that default way of playing, it's like the kid who keeps throwing rock too much. You can exploit it by throwing paper, as Riards did. If you want to learn how to exploit Euro fields, including PokerStars fields, I'd highly recommend you contact him, by the way. He's the best I've ever talked to about that field of study. I'm convinced he's the one to watch in Eastern Europe right now. And what that means is give him 3-4 years. Now, I really thank Riards Dobelis for sharing this with us because many guys are reluctant to share their graphs. I asked a bunch of people if they could tell me, you know, did GTO work for you? Did the exploitative style work for you? Bet sizing, when you bet with a specific mission in mind, which one worked better for you? And he was really kind enough to show me these graphs and say I could share them. I just also wanted to show you how these concepts do apply to the toughest online fields. They only get easier to apply in live poker where people don't see many hands and on other online poker sites where there's far less regulars and professional players. Caveat emptor, this works really well at lower stakes on PokerStars. As you move up in stakes on PokerStars, many more pros, right? And if you're a little unbalanced, they're going to take advantage of you. I'm just letting you know. But for most of what you guys are playing, I mean, like if you're on ACR, you should just try to exploit everybody because everybody who's on ACR is, you know, they're betting football games and stuff, right? Or if you're on Ignition or if you're on Party Poker, a lot of Party Poker people are just recreational. And I think when they're stressed out, they go to their default tactics and there's a way to exploit them. We need to think about exploiting our opponents in general. So imagine looking at a database, and here's just an example of one. You're looking at all these cumulative stats. Which one applies to this situation of ace of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 3 of clubs board, we have 10s, it's been checked to us. This applies to almost all networks in any game that isn't high stakes. Which one of these stats do you think would help us in that situation? Look at it again. How would you exploit your opponent here? Another fun way to do it is you put it in the PO solvers. You see what the solver does that humans never do and ask what leak are they, you know, how are they leaving their jaw open? The solver sees it, but we're not seeing it. What is the most important thought? What situation are you in here? Put it into your own words. Let's go back to the format for a bit. The situation here, guys, and you're not going to get my exact wording, but just see how close you were, is what is the most important thought when you have a mediocre pair in position? So what is it? What do you think the most important thought here has to do with when you have a mediocre pair in position? Do you think it has something to do with pot controlling, range capping, what's his range, or what does he check raise? The most important thought here is, how do I not cap my range? This will almost allow you to control everything else, which is why it's the most important thought. It's the base of that pyramid. His range is wide, as most big blind calling ranges are. Most people do not check raise bluff that much, and if we take a certain play, we will control the pot size and range cap at the same time. So I want to show you guys something. If you look at this database, you're going to see something that you'll see in pretty much every database on Earth, and I think it's very revealing of, we forget forgive the highfalutin New Yorker word, but the sociological ramifications of poker, which is, it is a game of human involvement. And humans don't like doing certain things. So one of them is raising flop C-bets. Now you'll notice if someone's raising a flop c-bet about 10% of the time, and you see this all the time, raise flop c-bet 10%, raise turn c-bet 8%, 3.4. I just pulled one random database, but most of them look like this. And the reason for that is it's kind of a free roll to look stupid if you check raise as a bluff. And most people play poker to feel good about themselves. They come to play a game. We all know this. When we play poker, we don't want to feel stupid. We just want to sit with the boys, throw some chips around, hopefully have a few chips come our way. Some of us enjoy beer while we're doing it. Some of us enjoy coffee. Some of us like to watch the game while we do it. Some of us don't. But we're not going there to feel stupid. That hurts our feelings. And one of the fastest ways to feel stupid at a poker table is to raise as a bluff. Because think about it. If you raise as a bluff, it's a free roll to look stupid. If you raise as a bluff and it works, nobody sees. They fold. If you raise as a bluff and it doesn't work, now the pot you're losing is pretty big, and most people get to see it. What's the general consensus of a player who bluffs and gets caught? Do people respect that player? Most people at the table will be like, nice try, bucko. Or, you know, they'll give you a look like, I say this a lot, guys, but I just want to repeat this because I'll even admit, I went to WPT Maryland just about a week ago, and I got berated from start to finish. Like 5-6 different people. I had my headphones in. I literally did not say a word the entire day. But I got caught bluffing a few times, right? Now, I manufactured a stack that wasn't there before because I didn't get dealt many hands. I was pretty proud of that. But it kind of hurts to have people telling you suck over and over again. But the thing you got to remember is, according to most poker sites, if you look at their books, 95% of players are losing players, which means 19 out of 20 guys you see are losing money at the game. So if you're playing in a style that doesn't cause alarm to them, you have earned the acceptance of losers. You should stand out like a sore thumb. And you'll see one of the glaring problems they have is if they only raise flop c-bets 10% of the time, well, that's about sets or two pair or like the nut flush draw with two overs. That's it. That's no bluff. So think about that, what that causes. Look at it again. How would you exploit your opponent here? Let's try it one more time. How can you not cap your range here? And it will also allow you to control pot size, get value from his wide opening range, and escape if he check raises. Oops. Here's the one last time. Let me let you guys see this on the big screen. Then I'll give you 30 seconds, okay? All right, time is up. Why do you think I'm betting this much? So that's about 1/3 the pot. Well, he called this with Jack-10 offsuit. Well, sometimes he will. 2-2? Sometimes he will. King-10 high? Well, yeah. People overcall that hand all the time without a plan on the turn. How many times have you seen a reg bet 1/3? There's a reason for that. You've seen regs bet 1/3 pot. Maybe some of you have wondered why. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. If you have nothing on this board, the guy's either got a pair or he's got nothing. Like, if he's got just zip and pip on this board, like, he's got 10-7 of hearts and he took a flyer, he's folding any bet you put out there. It's a very hate this word because it's so overused, but it's polarized. It's either really good pairs or just total whiffs, right? So people will bet really small because you'll probably fold your whiffs to anything, and you're probably not going to fold when you hit with anything else. And also, but I see guys bet a little different with this hand. Like sometimes they'll just go half pot. Like I just want to cash out my equity. And that's really interesting because if you bet small, you will get called by 2-2. You will get called by King 10. You'll even get called by Jack 10 sometimes. Just two broadways. Question. Have you ever check raised 5-5 with the 5 of diamonds when someone bet this small? According to the databases I've looked at, the answer for 99% of you is no. This means the check raising range here is generally 3-3, 8-8, ace-3, and ace-8, as we just saw in that database. But people call here with even high cards, or 6-7 of clubs when you bet this small, which is very good when you have some kind of pair. And then what do you think you should do here on this turn card after he calls you? Time is up. If you said bet 25-35% of the pot for either of these answers, I'm so proud of you guys. Why do we do that? Because we're trying not to cap our range. And again, remember, no one check raises. Remember, the turn check raise was 8%. So like if the guy turned ace-5, he's going to check raise you, but that's going to be about it. The thing to realize here, by the way, guys, is there are no good options. If you check flop and he bets turn, what do you do? Tell me, what's the average percentage of the time the average player bets the turn? What's the average batting average in Major League Baseball? What's the points per game total of the average striker in Premier League? Now, if you check flop, what percentage of the time does he bet turn? You don't know that number. I don't think... Well, I'll tell you why you don't know that number. There's no consistency with that number. It runs the gamut. There are guys that will fire every single time. There are guys that will not fire on that turn with less than ace-jack. And there is no rhyme or reason to that spectrum. You can't define it by age. You can't define it by country. There's nothing like that. If there was a way to predict that, I would have cooked it into my systems. I can't find it. If you check turn and he bets river, we don't know what to do. If you check flop and he bets turn, you don't know what to do. But this betting structure will fool 95% of players who are just going to sit there and go to their default like we saw in that database of, hey, I'm not going to check raise because, hey, that's scary and I don't want to look stupid with that bluff. So what they're going to do is they're going to call too much and fold. And if they call too much, that's actually pretty good because we have something. And it also, we're going to get value from flush draws and second pairs, which is not nothing. Furthermore, it opens the door for us. We're going to get the river check to us 99% of the time. That's not hyperbole. That's how often it's going to happen. And then we have that option to make the pot gigantic if we'd like. So if we do river the 10, we get to go for it. And then if somebody remembers us coddling them like this with 10-10, the next time we can do it with ace-jack and go for 3 streets and have them just calling down a little bit too much. All right, let's do one more of these and then I'm leaving you to enjoy your night. A normal reg opens on the button. You call with 9-7 offsuit from the big blind because you know you can outplay this guy. You check on this flop. He checks too. You get this turn. It's your move. One more for fun, because we got a little time. And thank you guys again for being here with me. I know your time is valuable and I'm flattered. You came here for a lesson from little old me. All right, remember your answer. If you got your notepad out, write that, okay? There's 702 in the pot. You guys are about 10K back. What did you want to do? Now, what is the most important thought? What situation did you just see here? You need to identify the situation before you can ask yourself better questions. That's why poker is the most exhausting thing in the world. It's like a standardized test where you're supposed to guess the questions. And it goes on, especially tournament poker. It's like 10 hours a day for 5 days in a row. So what we're going to start with in these lessons is giving yourself, what situation is this? Good. What question do you ask yourself? Great. Good. You'll know what to do. That's all I've tried to build. What is the most important thought when your opponent checks back on a coordinated board? Let's define it as that. That's the most important thing to think of here. What do you guys think is the most important thing, expanding on that, when your opponent checks back on a coordinated board? Is it what is he opening, range capping, or what is he trapping with? We're going to go right back to range capping. Most guys focus on some pretty limiting thoughts here, guys. What is he trapping me with here? What is he opening with? If you don't understand what people check here, you don't really need much else. If you understand what people check here, you don't really need much else. You know he's opening a wide range and he's trapping a couple flushes, right? But what else is he checking here? Guys, do you ever check here with an overpair? Like, are you ever sitting there with nines and just check? Do you just let a 7, a 3, or a heart sit down on the turn? If you have an ace of hearts, do you not fire? If you have a set, do you check? If you have a small straight, do you check? So if he's opening a wide range here from the button and checking all of his made flushes, but also pot controlling with his pairs, so what we're going to see is, so even if he's slow playing all of these combos, like all of these flushes he's trapping us with, which would be the worst case scenario, then he's still only going to have a flush 1 time out of 4. He's going to have a pair 3 times out of 4. And guys, what is more likely for him to be checking here with? 8-5 of diamonds or Jack-8 of hearts? Is that how you play a flush? You check, try to get no value, and give the guy a chance to hit a better flush with the 4 flush on the turn? So what is the most important thought when your opponent checks back on a coordinated board? They have mostly pairs. So take a look at this turn again. What do you want to do now? Okay, time is up. If you're going to bet with 9 high here, you should bet something that will fold out 1 pair. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I could literally talk about bet sizing for 10 hours. I could write an entire book on it because I think it's such an art form within poker. You think about it, most poker is aggressive, so it's mostly betting, and your sizing is very much how you paint the scenarios you want your opponents to see. And I really wish we could talk about it more, but I love that we got to talk about a few of my favorite situations that seem to really work these days all the time, and I really hope they help you in the future. This video has been brought to you by How to Think Like a Poker Player. I have a lot more information about this and how to think like a poker player. Guys, we looked through 3 situations in this video. The full product has 12 situations from poker games all over the world, and it puts you under much more pressure. It really harps on my fundamentals, which are much different than what's in every poker training book. You will never play poker the same way again after you use this product.
And that wraps up this part of the training series. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a lot from it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up to let me know how I'm doing. And if you learned something from this video, please let me know in the comments what your key takeaway or your biggest aha moment from watching this video was. I promise you, if you do that and then look at the other comments that are there, you're going to learn a whole lot more. This is the beauty of YouTube. This is the beauty of community. This is how we grow as a team, by sharing our insights, reading what others' insights were, and engaging in discussion to further develop those thought processes. I really hope you're enjoying this learning series. And when you're ready to watch more training lessons like this one, feel free to check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Gripst, or come by my website, www.gripst.com, and join Team Gripst for exclusive discounts, offers, and training opportunities. We got a whole lot of good ones coming on the way, and I hope that you are someone I will be getting to share them with. Let's get stacking. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it educational and entertaining. If you want to join Team Gripst, click on that subscribe button and tap that bell to be notified every time a new video goes live. For behind the scenes updates and motivational quotes from my poker journey, follow me on Instagram. And when you're ready to take one step closer to becoming poker's next champion, click on me in 3, 2, 1, and let's get stacking.